Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we're going to be doing the JAN-uary book tag. Before we get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is the first book you finished this year. Alright, so this is the JAN-uary book tag. I was tagged by Dasha over at Mythic Pages, and I'll put a link to her video in the cards up above. This tag was created by Jan at JAN-agathon, and I'll put a link to her video in the description down below. Definitely recommend following both of those ladies. So starting out for the tag, what was the last and first, if you remember, book you read last year? So my last book was We Hunt the Flame by 𝗖cie sais𝘁𝘁. This was my reread. I was so excited to get into it, but I put it off for a long time and just other things happened. Life was really crazy in December, so it took me a while to start into my reread. This was the last book. I actually do remember what the first book was because I recently was finishing editing a video that had this mentioned at the very beginning. Seventh Grave and Nobody by Dermot Jones, the 7th book in the Charlie Davidson series, which I was rereading in December of 2021. That reread continued until like June. Yeah, took me a while to get through it, but to be fair, there's 13 books. Next question. What is your first read this year? So technically speaking, I actually read this in December, but December is my reread month, and seeing as how this was a new book for me, I wanted to actually get to talk about it. Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. I buddy read this with Adriana at Carbon Bonded Books and absolutely adored it. I totally understand what everybody has been talking about with this book. The beautiful way good versus evil is discussed in this, differing perspectives, all of the different characters, the political scheming, the religious conflict. I just across the board was so engaged in this story, and I cannot wait to pick up the next book. Next question. Share 3 of your reading goals this year. So first off, I started out my TBR game this year, and I am determined to stay on top of it and actually read the books that I pull for that TBR game. I'll put a link to JAN-uary's in the cards up above if you missed it. Second, I want closer to 50% of the books I am reading to be own voices. I talked about that a little bit in my stats wrap up last year. My numbers when it came to own voices and BIPOC authors were just way lower than I wanted them to be, so I'm really trying to work on that this year. And then finally, I want to make progress in all of the series I'm reading. I feel like I've started so many, and even when I say I'm gonna start making progress on them, it doesn't actually happen. So I'm making a goal for myself every single month to read at least one book that will either continue or finish a series for me. Here's hoping I'll actually do that. I have an extra kick because I told myself that once I catch up on more of my series, I want to start into reading some of the Star Wars novels, and I am really excited to do that. But I really need to work on some of my series first because that's going to be a very long project. Next question. Share 3 of your most anticipated titles. So I don't really talk about my anticipated releases very often just because I feel like a lot of the time I'm very out of the loop when it comes to them. First up is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune, which is also on my 10 books to get read in 2023 list. Also on that list is The Plus One by Maisie Eddings, which is a romance book in her Brush with Love series. It'll finish out that series. I've really enjoyed her previous works. I have an arc of it. There's a lot of stuff there that'll probably ensure I actually get it read. And then finally is A Tempest of Tea by 𝗖cie sais𝘁𝘁. This was actually supposed to come out in 2022, but she got married, so the release date got pushed back a little bit. Next question. Which goals did you reach or not reach last year? So I had to pull up my reading journal for last year. Starting out, I surpassed my goal of 100 books for the year. That was fantastic. I'm still so happy about it. I was wanting to read a book every single month that had more than 450 pages. I didn't necessarily do that every single month, but I did read 11 books last year that had a page count higher than that, which is it technically succeeding? It's pretty close. I mean, I'm giving myself a pat on the back for still doing so well. I did read 12 nonfiction books last year, which is fantastic. That's roughly 1 book a month. That's a goal that I've had for the last 2 years, so I didn't really feel the need to talk about it, but that's another one I still want to continue to try to do. Oh, I did not read a comic book every single month. I really stunk at staying on top of my comic books last year. That's another thing I want to try and work on. That also sort of ties in with continuing series because, I mean, comic book runs are series, technically speaking. I already talked about I didn't do great at reading more BIPOC stories. Limiting TBRs. That was one I did because I wanted to allow more time for mood reading. After reacting to all of my TBRs for last year, I think I've realized that having a TBR usually is a good thing for me. I tend to do pretty well at finishing them. I often do have a wide variety of books within my TBRs, which allows me to mood read a little bit. This is one that I've kind of just realized I should get rid of that. And then finally, I absolutely failed actually attending live shows. That was one I really wanted to do because I love participating in different book clubs, but I'm so bad at attending the live shows. I'm bad about attending reading sprints even. I get so distracted and other things will pop up. I don't know why I'm like this. Next question. Are there 2023 releases you've heard of that you have no desire to read? So like I talked about before, I'm not very in the know when it comes to anybody's anticipated releases. I actually had to look up what were some big name books coming out this year to give you answers. First up is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. This is the much awaited sequel to, oh shoot, what's that book called? I can see the cover in my mind, but I can't think of what it's called. Ninth House. Ninth House was actually my first book I read by Leigh Bardugo, but even then I still only gave it 3.5 stars. I've now read 4 other books by her, and I think one of them topped the 3-star range. Just come to realize that her writing isn't really my style. We just don't work together. I'm just gonna stop trying. Next up is Stolen Air by Holly Black. Holly Black's Folk of the Air series was everywhere for the last year and a half. I swear I couldn't get on BookTube or Bookstagram anywhere and not see it because it's just been so popular. I'm so happy other people enjoy it. I have no interest. None at all. And this newest book by her also doesn't appeal to me. Her stuff gets so much hype, which makes me hear about it quite often, but it's like the more I hear about it, the less interested I am. And then finally, this one is like, I'm kind of interested, but I'm kind of not. And it was the only other one that I really thought anything particular about when looking up answers for this. The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I have a hate-love relationship with his work. 2 of them I've really enjoyed, 2 of them I did not like. One was right down the middle. I still have not read The House Across the Lake because I've heard so many negative reviews about it. And between Survive the Night and this one both having such bad ratings, I just don't know if this newest one is gonna be any better. And I don't know if I really want to try. But at the same time, 2 of his books I really enjoyed, and I thought they had such fantastic twists and some really good discussions on societal issues. I don't know. This one is definitely a maybe. It's like, I might pick it up, but at the same time, anytime I see it, I'm just gonna feel so conflicted. That's enough on that question. Next up, what are some reading habits you want to change this year, if any? This is a great one. I actually finally was starting to do this beginning of December. I really want to focus more on physically reading. I read so many audiobooks last year. Fantastic. That's great. I have a lot of free time that I can fill up using audiobooks, and then that way I don't have to sit in complete silence in my head. But I do want to try and prioritize reading physically a lot more. Started getting up a little bit earlier in December to read a chapter or 2 while I was drinking my coffee in the morning. I was also trying to reestablish the habit of reading before I went to bed. I kind of started on that, but my routine has definitely been out of whack for the last few weeks, so I want to continue trying to do that into this year, seeing as how I have so many books on my owned TBR that I really need to get read, and I would prefer to read them physically if I already own them. Sometimes, you know, you just gotta go with an audiobook. Next question. Are there any adaptations you're excited about? Yes, yes, yes. I am so excited for A Man Called Ove, which in the American version, it's gonna be A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks. Who doesn't love Tom Hanks? He is America's dad. This book was so funny, so sweet, so wholesome, and still made me cry my eyes out, and I cannot wait for the movie to do that to me too. I am so excited. I've already told my parents they have to watch it with me. I told Josh he has to watch it with me. I really hope this movie might be a new fave, just like this book was my favorite of last year. Next question. Favorite bookish memory of last year? I definitely have to say going book shopping with my 2 best friends to the big half-price books, the big Barnes & Noble, the indie that's near me. Like we went to so many different places, we bought so many books, but it was also just so much fun to go and do that stuff with them, seeing as how they don't live near me. We met at college. It was great. I'm always going to look back on that and smile. I'll put a link to my book shopping vlog up above. Those are my best friends and I love them so much and I miss them, and it was so much fun, and I'm glad I have that video to look back on, as well as the chaotic other videos that I filmed with them. Final question. Carryovers from last year that you're still planning on finishing. I know what I said in the beginning, but I'm not quite finished since it took me a while to finish out We Hunt the Flame. We Free the Stars. I mean, it's a duology. Like, it's even if they're big, like, I really just can't not reread this also. I mean, it would be a waste to push it off. And then for a book that I've had on my currently reading on Goodreads for so long, Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. I was really excited for this book because I just never really heard a lot about it, but the basis of this world that's like filled with mobsters and kind of casino-esque just sounded a lot of fun and pretty original. However, whenever I picked it up, apparently I just wasn't in the mood for fantasy because it just kept getting put down and then I never really went back to it, even though I'm still really intrigued by the world. Here's hoping that I may actually finish this book this year. All right, y'all, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials linked in the description if you're interested in keeping up with what I am reading. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!